again, he was very candid in the final Pac-12 media availability for this team. And he was just asked straight up what went wrong. This is what he said.
Well, I mean, we gotta revamp the roster. You know, I have to get on the phone, and I've been on the phone, and I have to encourage people that have the wherewithal to try and support what we're doing. I have to go and you know, especially with this transition, I've watched quite a bit of Big 12 basketball. It's a strong, physical, you know, these games are I mean, it's for men, grown-ass men in that league. So, you know, we have to make some changes. I don't know, I feel like you could say a lot of things about me as a coach, and you could be critical of a lot of areas and different things that you may not like about my coaching style and my offense, my philosophies on defense, my in-game decisions, my rotations. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into being a coach, but I don't think you would say that he's not going to fight or battle or get his team ready to compete and fight and battle. And I failed miserably in that regard because, you know, this is not a reflection of my belief system in terms of just effort and will and, you know, knowing what it feels like when your season's on the line and you have to play for your season and that's the effort that you get. So that's my responsibility, and I failed miserably. So that will be a primary prerequisite as I start evaluating, you know, what needs to get done to rebuild our team.
There's a lot to take out of that answer. There's a lot to dissect. First, I just want to start off with when Bobby is looking down to his left, it's not because he's ever looking at somebody. That's just when he's giving a thoughtful answer, he's staring right at the table and sometimes at the stat sheet, but usually just spacing out and digging deep. And that you could tell that answer came from the heart. Look, the first thing that everyone's going to point out, obviously, is him saying we need to revamp the roster. And whether you think that means going in and getting a ton of new players or making sure that the players that stay and can get ready to compete in the Big 12, something has to change, and he knows that. He called the Big 12 that is a grown-ass men's league.
Yeah,
like that is what it is. Well, we talked about it yesterday. Like these games are bloodbaths. TCU is an 11.5-point dog to Houston. That game's still going to be a bloodbath. Like this team isn't ready for it. It's not at all ready for it.
No.
And he knows that, and he took that to heart. He took that to heart that they weren't ready to compete today, and he takes pride in making sure his players are ready to compete, and they were not ready to compete yesterday, and that stung bad.
And we've talked a lot about Bobby, but in the last soundbite, which we'll get to in a second, like there's also a ton of weight when it comes to all of this on the players. And yes, it is a coach's job to make sure that they're ready to compete hard and to put them in the right position to succeed. But there was zero heart. You can't teach, you can't coach heart. Like you either have it or you don't. And Jose Perez might be the perfect example and encapsulation of this team as a whole, to where when the going got tough, people just quit. They just quit. Like the Utah game was never close. They got down like 8 early, and then that was it. Everybody was wide open after that. Utah smelled blood, and they killed them. It was over. And then you think, oh, maybe they'll come back in the second half and they'll have one of those classic, like ASU pulls it with an 8. And then you really think, like, are they going to do this? And then they end up losing by 15 or 20. No, it was the same crap in the second half. And Bobby said that it doesn't represent who he is. And I agree with him. Bobby is not the type of guy to where if you can just take a drop of Bobby Hurley and say, we're going to make this a basketball team, that basketball team would try harder than their opponent. They would be out there and they would be giving it their all. And they weren't doing that. And I don't know if that's a reflection of Bobby Hurley or that's a reflection of the guys who are actually passing, dribbling, and shooting the basketball.
Yeah.
And not all of them. Like Frankie Collins still gave his all. Like he said, like Alonzo Gaffney was like showing emotion. But the reality is most of those guys looked like they were sleepwalking last night.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it mattered if they started off the game hitting their first 3 threes and they went up 9-0. They were still going to lose that game. They just weren't ready. They weren't prepared. They didn't want to win. They didn't want it. Like they just didn't want to be there anymore. And yeah, Bobby took that to heart for sure.